You saw it. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to yourself. It was the second date, the way she spoke to the waiter, that entitled condescending tone that made your stomach tighten. It was the casual mention that every single one of her exes was a narcissistic abuser. It was the fifth time her phone buzzed with a text from her best male friend while she sat across from you. You felt that primal instinct deep in your gut, the internal alarm system screaming, danger, eject. But what did you do? You silenced the alarm. You rationalized it. She's just stressed. She's had a tough past. I can fix her. You prioritize the immediate comfort of connection over the long-term reality of the situation. You chose the fantasy over the facts, and you are walking straight into a minefield, pretending the warning signs are just decorations. The cost of this ignorance is not just heartbreak. It is devastation, financial ruin, psychological torture, the legal nightmare of divorce court, the complete annihilation of the life you spent decades building. Stop. Stop gambling with your future. Stop prioritizing the fantasy of her potential over the reality of her behavior. Stop believing the catastrophic lie that love conquers all. The red flags you ignore today are the shackles that will bind you tomorrow. I have counseled hundreds of men who ignored the signs. Men who are now living in the rubble of their existence. Broken, bankrupt, and alone. They all say the same thing. The signs were there. I just didn't want to believe them. By the time they believed them, it was too late. The trap had sprung. Today, we are exposing the most lethal red flags in the modern dating market. We are dissecting the mechanisms of denial, the psychology of manipulation, and the brutal reality of the consequences. This is not about finding the perfect woman. This is about avoiding the woman who will destroy you. Why do intelligent, successful men consistently ignore the screaming sirens of impending doom? It is not because you are stupid. It is because you are desperate, programmed, and weak. You are operating under a series of delusions that paralyze your judgment and expose you to catastrophic risk. The delusion of potential, the fixer complex. You believe she will change, that her flaws are temporary, and that your love, stability, and resources will transform her. This is the arrogant assumption that you can fix a broken human being. She will not change. The behavior you see today is the behavior you will get tomorrow, amplified by time and complacency. The delusion of scarcity, the fear of loneliness. You fear you will not find anyone else, that this is your last chance. You believe the lie that your options are limited, and that you must settle for the compromised option. This scarcity mindset leads to desperate decisions and catastrophic outcomes. The delusion of nobody's perfect, the normalization of dysfunction. You rationalize that all relationships require compromise, and that these red flags are just minor imperfections. You are confusing a scratch on the paint with a crack in the engine block. Stop prioritizing hope over reality. Stop prioritizing the fear of loneliness over the certainty of destruction. Conventional advice tells you to be open-minded, to give her a chance, to not be so judgmental. This advice is poison. It is the path to enslavement. Open-mindedness is the excuse for weak boundaries. Giving her a chance is the justification for ignoring your instincts. Judgment is the essential tool for survival. Wake up. The dating market is a ruthless arena. Your job is not to be liked. Your job is to survive. And survival requires the ruthless ability to identify and eliminate the threats. Not all red flags are created equal. Some indicate minor incompatibility. Others are predictors of catastrophic failure. You must learn to distinguish between the two. Here are the 4 lethal red flags that you must never ignore, under any circumstances. Brutal truth. Number 1. The absence of accountability, the professional victim archetype. This is the most reliable predictor of future psychological torture. The complete inability to take responsibility for her actions, her choices, her life. You see it in the narrative she constructs about her past. All her exes were toxic. All her problems are someone else's fault. She is the perpetual victim of circumstance, oppression, and the patriarchy. This is the professional victim archetype, the woman who defines herself by her suffering and uses it as a weapon to control, manipulate, and exploit. Why is this lethal? Because she operates in a reality distortion field where facts are irrelevant and feelings are absolute law. She will gaslight you, manipulate you, and make you question your own sanity. She will never apologize. She will never admit fault. She will always find a way to blame you for her behavior. This is the mechanism of Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. And when the relationship ends, and it will end, you will be the next villain in her story. She will rewrite history to paint you as the abuser and herself as the victim. And she will use this narrative to destroy your reputation, your finances, and your relationship with your children. I had a client and a successful surgeon. He married a woman with a history of trauma and victimization. He thought he could save her. Instead, she destroyed him. She accused him of emotional abuse for trying to establish boundaries. She weaponized her tears to win every argument. She eventually divorced him, claiming he was a narcissist, and took half his assets. He ignored the red flag of the victim narrative, and he paid the ultimate price. Brutal truth number 2. The validation addiction, the Instagram princess, and the orbiter army. This is the most pervasive red flag of the modern era. The obsession with social media, attention, and external validation. You see it in the constant curation of the idealized self, the provocative photos, the endless stream of selfies, the meticulous documentation of every aspect of her life. This is not harmless vanity. This is an addiction to the dopamine hits of likes, comments, and followers. This is the validation economy, the marketplace where attention is the currency. Why is this lethal? Because the constant stream of validation inflates her ego and her perceived sexual market value SMV. This leads to entitlement, unrealistic expectations, and the constant pursuit of an upgrade. Hypergamy. Her need for validation is a black hole that can never be filled. Your attention will never be enough. She will always seek external sources of validation, leading to the cultivation of orbiters, the male friends who orbit her life, waiting for an opportunity. Think of her Instagram profile as a billboard advertising availability. She is signaling to the marketplace that she is open for business. If she is addicted to validation, she is incapable of loyalty. She will always prioritize the dopamine hit over the commitment. Brutal truth number 3. The presence of contempt, the ultimate predictor of collapse. This is the most lethal red flag within an established relationship. The subtle, insidious erosion of respect that manifests as contempt. Contempt is not anger. Anger implies engagement. Contempt is dismissal. It is the emotion we feel towards something worthless or inferior. Dr. John Gottman identified contempt as the number 1 predictor of divorce. It is the sulfuric acid that dissolves the foundation of the relationship. You see it in the subtle cues, the eye roll, the heavy sigh, the sarcastic tone, the public humiliation disguised as a joke, the interruption mid-sentence, the dismissal of your opinions. When a woman holds you in contempt, she is signaling that she perceives you as weak, incompetent, and low value. And a woman cannot love a man she does not respect. It is a biological impossibility. Why do you ignore it? Because you believe that if you just try harder, if you just become more agreeable, she will respect you again. She will not. Contempt is terminal. If you see contempt, you must recognize that the relationship is already dead. You are just waiting for the funeral. Brutal truth number 4. The financial black hole. irresponsibility, and entitlement. This is the most pragmatic and devastating red flag of all. The profound financial irresponsibility, entitlement, and the expectation of provision without contribution. Financial responsibility is a direct indicator of impulse control, future orientation, and maturity. You see it in the debt mountain, the massive student loans, the credit card debt, the reckless spending habits. She is living a lifestyle she cannot afford, financed by the expectation of a future bailout. You see it in the entitlement mentality, the belief that she deserves the best, regardless of her effort or contribution. Think of it as investing in a bankrupt company, a company with a history of mismanagement, excessive debt, and unsustainable spending. Would you invest your life savings into this company? No. Then why would you invest your life into this woman? When you ignore this red flag, you are signing up for a life of financial stress, resentment, and the eventual destruction of your wealth. When you marry her debt. You marry her dysfunction, and the divorce courts will force you to pay the price. So, this is the reality. The modern dating market is a minefield. The consequences of ignoring the red flags are catastrophic. What do you do about it? The solution is not communication. It is not compromise. It is not hope. The solution is the ruthless implementation of vetting standards, the prioritization of self-preservation, and the willingness to walk away. Here is your protocol for navigating the minefield and protecting your future. The reality audit. Believe the flags. Trust your gut. The first step is to stop gaslighting yourself. When you see a red flag, believe it. Do not rationalize it. Do not ignore it. The red flag is the reality. Trust your instincts. Your gut feeling is the evolutionary mechanism designed to protect you from danger. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Stop prioritizing the fantasy of her potential over the reality of her behavior. Establish non-negotiables. The ruthless vetting process. You must establish clear, non-negotiable standards for the women you allow into your life. These are your non-negotiables, the boundaries that protect your peace, your resources, and your future. Zero tolerance for the victim narrative. Zero tolerance for the validation addiction. Zero tolerance for contempt. Zero tolerance for financial irresponsibility. You must implement a ruthless vetting process. Assess her character, her values, her behavior with cold, objective scrutiny. Do not be blinded by beauty or intoxicated by chemistry. Character is destiny. The immediate exit strategy, the power of next. When you identify a lethal red flag, you must execute an immediate exit strategy. Do not wait. Do not try to fix her. Do not seek closure. Walk away, immediately and permanently. The word next is the most powerful word in your vocabulary. It is the declaration of your abundance, your self-respect, and your refusal to settle for the compromised option. The cost of walking away early is infinitely smaller than the cost of staying too long. Embrace abundance and strategic solitude. You must eliminate the scarcity mindset that leads to desperate decisions. You are a high-value man. You have options. Embrace strategic solitude, the conscious choice to prioritize your peace, your mission, and your freedom over the chaos and complexity of a dysfunctional relationship. Being alone is infinitely better than being destroyed. When you embrace abundance and solitude, you are no longer controlled by the fear of loneliness. You are empowered to demand the best. So there you have it, the brutal truth about the lethal red flags you are ignoring, and the catastrophic consequences of your complicity. You now understand the mechanisms of the professional victim, the validation addiction, the presence of contempt, and the financial black hole. You have the protocol to protect yourself. Ruthless vetting, non-negotiable standards, the immediate exit strategy, the embrace of abundance, The path to freedom and survival is clear. But are you going to take it? I doubt it. Most of you watching this are too weak, too hopeful, too terrified of being alone. You will watch this video, feel a temporary surge of clarity, and then you will go right back to the dating apps and swipe right on the disaster waiting to happen. You will go right back to ignoring the red flags. You will go right back to gambling with your future. Why? Because it's easier. It's easier to believe the fantasy of potential than to face the harsh reality of the situation. It's easier to settle for the compromised option than to demand the best. It's easier to be the compliant victim of a rigged game than the sovereign man who walks alone. You prefer the comfort of the delusion to the burden of the truth. So go ahead. Ignore everything I just said. Keep playing Russian roulette with your life. Keep waiting for the inevitable explosion. Keep wondering why you are broken, bankrupt, and alone. Or you can wake up. You can accept the brutal reality. You can enforce your standards. You can protect your future. You can reclaim your destiny. The choice is yours. But remember this: the red flags you ignore today are the fires that will burn down your life tomorrow. Prove me wrong. If you ignored the red flags and paid the price, I want to hear your story in the comments. What were the signs you missed? What was the cost of your delusion? We need to expose this catastrophic reality.